Calc BC, picking back up in lesson 6.2, our last problem. In our last video, we left off, we had drawn rectangles from the line x equals 2. We made them perpendicular, having a base of a rectangle on that axis. Reaching out, we had a little radius. That small radius was right here, highlighting that in blue. The little radius is obviously the shorter of the two distances. And then we had our big radius. The big radius is going to be going from this axis all the way to the far end. And again, what you can see is you're stacking rectangles in this manner. You're stacking them vertically, not the way that we were dealing with last chapter. So we're going to integrate with respect to y. The washer method is needed because there is space between that yellow region and the line that you're rotating about. So we're going to integrate from y equals 0 to y equals 4. Our big radius, we're going to do right minus left. But very, very, very importantly, what we left off with on the video, if I'm integrating with respect to y, I have to have x equals for my curves. And just reviewing at the bottom, when you have y is equal to x squared, you can take your square roots. So what we're seeing is in this second quadrant right here, I'm just putting a little squibble. This is negative x values, so x would be negative radical y. And over here in the first quadrant, this is where x would be positive radical y. But as we do our big radius squared, we do right minus left. Look at this big rectangle. We'll take the right of 2 minus, then the end here is negative radical y. Then we're going to say subtract minus, well, here's our little radius, that's in blue, right minus, well, what's your left edge here? Well, it's this parabola. That's x equals radical y. And again, we're going to have that squared. So what you can do very quickly using your calculator is pretty much get this thing typed in. And by the way, there is a pi out in front. You can see I just had not copied that down. And we'll put the pi out in front in just a minute. Now it's just doing some number crunching. So we're going to do fn int, and we'll go from 0 all the way up to 4. And then inside here, we're just going to have to set up some parentheses. We'll go 2 plus. Now, stating the obvious, you see some y's here. You could do alpha y. You could just keep this all in terms of x. That's what I'm doing for the sake of speed, being able to write this out a little bit more quickly. Honestly, this is pretty much like a dummy variable, really. You can put in whatever variable you'd like. Just stay consistent with it. And you can see here, I'm just going to square my parentheses. It's always the radius squared. And then at this point, we'll have a dx. When we hit enter, it's going to think and cook it up a little bit. You can see that it's going to take a while. And if we were to, more or less try to hit math frac, we might not be able to get that to work out. At this point, you could just multiply by pi, and we'd get 134.041. 134.041. It looked like we weren't able to get an exact fraction. By the way, we probably could. There very well is some round-off error, and if you would have worked that out by hand, you could find what it is. But whether you're working it out by hand or getting a decimal equivalent, it's all good. Well, for your homework, to speed things up for this evening, please do all the problems, setting them up the way we've been doing, but then do an fn int to quickly evaluate the integrals. Obviously, I want the focus to be primarily, can you set these integrals up correctly?